Okay, I will give the new All-Star Game format that I just watched on TNT this much. It did, for the most part, make all the players, including the rising stars, of course, play a little harder on both ends of the floor. I saw a little more defense, a little more shot blocking, a little more competitiveness on both ends of the floor. But that is all I'm going to give it. Because in the end, it just made me miss what used to be even more. And I'll be the first to admit it. The OGs won the championship tonight in the final game of the 3 games. Team OG, Shaq's team. Yeah, I'm the ultimate OG. You know, I'm a legend. I've been around for a long time. I started covering NBA All-Star games in the late 1970s. I've been to game after game after game, and I have loved every last minute of it until lately when I started watching these televised games from a distance in my man cave. And last year it got to 211 to 186. And the commissioner was rightly angered by it and offended by it and ashamed of it. And he said, we got to try something. We got to get desperate here. We got to reach. We got to go way outside the box until they boxed themselves in. So they tried a 4-team format with shorter games to 40. And they allowed the Rising Stars winner of its 4-game tournament on Friday night to take one of the spots tonight. And rightfully so, Draymond Green and I think LeBron James. I believe that's why LeBron sat this one out, is he was protesting what he thought was a shameful gimmick, and it was. To let these rising stars, no all-stars among them, Stephon Castle looks like he probably will be at some point for the Spurs. They didn't embarrass themselves because they're going to play hard. And they're going to play fearlessly. And that's fine. And I enjoyed watching that game because it forced the other team. I can't even remember which team played because now my mind's just a jumble because I'm worn out from watching it because it was endless. But it did force the other team to play harder. I guess it was the OG. Yeah, it was the OG's team. It was Shaq's team. They were forced to play. And they played and they did what they had to do, or they'd gone down in flames and gone down in history as the team that lost to the Rising Stars in an all-star game. But I'm with Draymond, and I think with LeBron, it's embarrassing. You put the Rising Stars on the floor with the all-stars? What? And then what embarrassed me the most was for TNT. And I love those guys. And I know all those guys. And I know Kevin Hart. And I've been on TV with Kevin Hart a bunch of times. And I've been in other situations with Kevin Hart. I've been on his show. And I love him because he's got comic genius to him. And he's such a hard-working guy, hardest working man in show business. But tonight was just so unscripted that we kept disrupting and interrupting the basketball for Kevin Hart, trying to be off the cuff, off the top of his head funny, and it just wasn't that funny. He couldn't go blue, as they say, in comedy. He tried a couple times. He called Shaq, looks like you're dressed like a porn director. When he got awarded at the end, the somewhat valuable player, I think it was one of the mascots, was it the Philly? I forget which one, brought him the award, and he said, you got a pair of balls on you. Okay, that's as blue as he can get. It's just not that funny. And he kept reaching and reaching, and they kept stalling and stopping the game for Kevin to try to do his bits, and they just weren't funny enough. And he wouldn't let it go. Once he knew he was dying, he would just reach farther and farther for the same gag. Quit letting the big guys shoot the threes. Get their butts down in the paint. Make them work. No more threes, or they got to come over here and set. And it just goes on and on and on and on. And then he's getting on SGA after a game had started and the refs delayed the game while Kevin tried to do a bit with SGA about his shoes. You got the mustards on. Work. Make your big men work. Go to work, SGA. And SGA's offended by it and is waving to the ref. Just let us play. Just let the ball come inbounds. Let's go. Let's just move. The stunts were lame and they were endless and they drove me crazy and they ruined the basketball night. I'm OG. I remember when the East played the West, and it was great because everybody took it seriously enough that they competed hard. And whoever was the hometown hero of the night, they always featured him and fed him. And I remember I was in Seattle one year, Tom Chambers, they fed him till he was the MVP. It's great, but it's fun because it would get competitive down the stretch. I remember not that long ago, D. Wade and Kobe were tearing each other up, injuring each other, battering each other in the face down the stretch of an all-star game because they cared, because they take pride in basketball. And now I have to wait for stunt after lame stunt after lame stunt to disrupt a little 4-game to 40-point tournament. We had the kid shooting that picked him out of the stands from half court, and he finally made one going up against Dame, who was supposed to make 3 before the kid could make 1. And it was exciting. After about 15 minutes, it was exciting. But it just went on, and it was so unscripted that it just took forever. And I kept thinking, my all-star game has come to this? To this? If you brought him out, let him shoot 1 shot or 2 shots to win $100,000, that's how you do it at halftime at any NBA game. But no, you're going up against Dame, and it's miss, 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 miss. I'm like, just stop it. Let me watch some basketball. Let me watch the greatest players in the world play basketball. And then that final big, long, lame stunt where they try to celebrate Shaq and Charles and Kenny and Ernie, and I appreciate that, but you're disrupting the final game to do that? And here was the problem with the final game. You made Team Charles wait so long to play the final game, and then they get off to a shaky start, and then you make everybody wait and wait and wait while you do. You let Kevin MC it, and Kevin's just off the top of his head, unscripted. He's not reading the teleprompter. There's no rhythm to it. There's no cadence. There's no intensity to it. There's no bam, bam. Television is bam, 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 bam. It's got to be scripted down to the second. Move, move, move. Short attention span, theater. We're all waiting for the next basket to be scored, pass to be made, dunk to be had. Let's go. Let's get the basketball back. And they do. It seemed like it went on for 15 minutes of awarding the TNT guys gone fishing gear because that's their bit. Teams fall out of the playoffs and they're gone fishing. It's funny when they do it on Inside the NBA, but it was not funny tonight. It wasn't memorable. It wasn't emotional, particularly. It wasn't sentimental. It wasn't poignant. It was just lame and endless and irritating and debilitating mentally for basketball fans who just want the game to go on, the final to go on. And finally, at the end of the championship game, Steph and Kyrie said, enough. We're going to do what we do in all-star games. And they just took over the end of the final game, as they should have, and they put on the show of shows. I think Kyrie really wanted to put on a show because he really wants to put on a show down the stretch if he could ever get his big men healthy in Dallas. He wants to show he can be the man above and over what Luka was as the man when Kyrie rode shotgun, really rode it in the back seat, took the back seat to Luka. I think Kyrie was positioning himself. He went up to the championship trophy and put his hands on it at the end of the presentation. I like that because he was saying, I earned part of this. Kyrie played hard on both ends. He was stealing the ball like crazy. He put on one move on Wemby and didn't quite pull it off, but it was Rucker Park come to life. It was Uncle Drew come to life. I think Uncle Drew is going to make a run down the stretch at a Western Conference championship if he can get some of those guys healthy. AD should be healthy sooner than later. Lively is shaky, and now Gaffney is man, I don't know. I don't like what's happening in Dallas. And I picked him to get in the finals. I'm going to do a commentary on that tomorrow on my show. But my God, tonight just wore me out watching it, and it made me ultimately miss the great all-star games of the past. And again, I understand what Draymond and I think LeBron are saying. We're putting the rising stars on the all-star court on Sunday night. I get that, because I'm embarrassed for you guys too. I think that's why LeBron just said, I'm sitting this one out. I don't think it was his foot or his ankle or whatever he said it was. I think he just said, I'm not going to stoop to participate in that. Obviously, Draymond's not an all-star, so he's not participating in that. He looked like a non-star in the skills competition. God, did he ever screw that up in the final of the skills? I'm going to have a big commentary on Draymond tomorrow on my show. But in the end, they were right. But in the bigger picture end, they were all wrong because they brought this on themselves. The commissioner can't sit by idly and watch 211 to 186. He just says, no, it's going to kill the game. It's going to hurt our product in the long term and the short term for the NBA Finals, and leading to the NBA Finals and for the All-Star game. I agree with that. They did it to themselves. Agents did it. Nobody's going to play hard. Nobody's going to play defense. Everybody's going to jack up ridiculous threes. And yet, in the end tonight, we got what we wanted. We got ridiculous threes jacked up by Steph Curry because he made one. He made a 40-footer. He almost made a half court, made a couple of more, and he rightfully, fittingly, scriptedly, as it should have been written in the great beyond, Steph Curry won the MVP that he should have won from the start in his house, in his town, for his team, in his franchise. Good for him. He was great. He's often great in those kind of games. He was great in the Olympic final. Never been that great in big NBA final games, but that's a whole nother story. But I was happy for that. I was happy for Kyrie. They put on a show of shows for about, it went on for about 10 minutes, I'd say. And that was it for me for the whole night. So I get it. Everybody played a little harder, but it took a bogus, lame, amateurish, beneath the dignity of the National Basketball Association format to get this. I mean, are we heading toward no All-Star game? Because I can tell you this, my wife Ernestine, her favorite sports event of the year, I'm not exaggerating, of the year by far, she's not that big a sports fan, is All-Star Saturday night. She will watch every single second of the skills and the three-point contest and the slam dunk. She'll watch every second. However long does it go for? Almost 3 hours. She will be riveted. She won't fall asleep. She won't go to use the bathroom and not come back for 20 minutes. She won't make an excuse. She won't talk on the phone. She won't look at her phone. She watches because she loves it, because it's great entertainment for her. And it's great entertainment for me. I would not miss it. It's way better than the game has been. But once upon a time, when I first started going to these games, they were events because the agents didn't get involved and tell the players to be careful, take it easy, don't play defense, just jack up threes and try to stay out of harm's way. Okay, so what do you guys want? Do you want to play or not? Because I want the East versus the West. I want to go back to pride of Eastern versus Western Conference because I love that, man. I'm the biggest NBA fan you will find, and I miss that tonight. I've missed it for several years now because this generation of players seems to have given that up. They don't have enough pride. Not only pride in themselves, just pride in their city and their conference, in putting on a competitive basketball game that features the greatest players in the world. There should be pride in that. And maybe they need to up the money. That's fine. That's fine. All I know is I watched it, and I'm worn out from watching it, and I can't wait until next year because I just have a feeling we'll go back to what should be East versus West.